In this episode, we talk about how the KPIs give you a great basis to properly allocate your attention and money and obviously get the best result from your business. I would like to introduce 3 concepts and we will discuss more later. So, first of all, we will discuss something which is called the backward logic. This is a very interesting tool we use to predict what we have to do on the basis of the end result we want to achieve. Then we will talk about benchmarks, which are crucial when it comes to deciding on the basis of KPIs, what to do and what not to do. And finally, we will talk about comparative metrics that are more often used to compare yourself with the competition. And comparison metrics are just set of KPIs that summarize how your business looks like against the competition. So, it is crucial to know them in order to know what you can achieve more. Now, benchmarks are points of reference that will tell you how good you are and what can be improved. We can be talking about 2 types of benchmarks, internal and external. The internal ones are based on your previous result, previous experience, execution, and therefore are very reliable and comparable. You can have internal benchmark almost for everything. Measure your result and guess the average maximum and minimum value to see what can be improved and whether you are making progress by using internal benchmark. You compare you to yourself. And external benchmark, on the other hand, based on external sources that makes them less comparable and therefore should be treated with caution. Still, the value they carry is priceless. They can give you drastic improvement by analyzing them. You can find totally different methods of working and performing. Let's have a look at an example showing how to use benchmarks. Let's imagine that you, as a sales executive, decided to have a look at 3 things: your salary, the total revenue generated, and then opportunity to order conversion percentage. Luckily, you have not only your current result for specific activity, but both internal and external benchmark. Let's imagine that you decided to have a look at the 3 things. As you can see, your salary went up from previous one. Still, it is below external benchmark. So it means that you are earning below the market that you suggest, and actually you should probably go and ask for a raise. Next is total revenue generated. You improve slightly over previous result, yet you are much below what is suggested by external. This would suggest that you should actually see what are you doing wrong. Big difference would suggest that it would be a good idea to do a sales coaching and check what is wrong with the way you carry out sales activity, communicate with clients, and everything surrounding what you are doing. Then, the opportunity to order conversion percentage. As you can see, not only you have improved the result over the last year, but you also are much better than what is suggested by external benchmark. Maybe makes sense to teach others how to do it. Benchmarks are used both internal and external for you to make good calls on what you should do next and what you should concentrate on looking at is would probably make sense to me. In summary, ask for increase of your salary, then go for a sales coaching and increase your total revenue generated. So you are more productive to generate revenue, and then maybe try to calculate somehow on the fact that you are very good at converting opportunity to order. Well, backward reasoning. This is a powerful tool that you may use to check whether something makes sense or not. Given the target you are set, these sort of techniques you especially find very useful when it comes to new ventures, startup, when you have little data and you have to work on assumption. This is also a way to quickly check with little data whether what you are trying to get is achievable and whether the things you are planning are consistent. So imagine that you were supposed to say how much you have to spend to create a company that has revenue of 10 million US dollar. For this, we are going to use the so-called backward reasoning and let's see how we do it step by step. I say you have to generate $10 million of revenue. This means that assuming obviously average revenue per customer of 5,000, you have to get 2,000 customers. Next, let's see how many leads it means that we have to have in order to generate this number of customers. If we assume the conversion rate is 10%, so how many leads convert to customer conversion of 10%? This would suggest that we have to have 20,000 leads. And if we assume that we spend on average per lead is $200, it would require us to invest $4 million in acquiring the leads. That would lead us to 2,000 customers. And that will generate the $10 million. And we get our goal. So, as you can see, I worked my way backward. So I started with the revenue. Then, with some assumption on the average revenue per customer, conversion, and cost of one lead, I came up with the numbers that I have to invest. So if I'm not willing, obviously, to spend this amount of money, I will not get the size of revenue. Obviously, the assumption we made here, so the average revenue per customer conversion and cost of it are something we have to check. And it is also a thing that you can use it as a metric to see whether the venture makes sense or not. So, if I assume that I want to have 10 million of revenue, but I don't have a 4 million to spend, it means that I have to cut down significantly on the cost of leads, increase the conversion, and also increase maybe the average revenue per customer. Well, so I can play with the numbers and see how achievable this is or not. So, if I'm not able, for example, to lower 5 times the cost of it, then this will not happen. I will not be able to generate a 10 million of revenue with $200 cost. I could also try to cut down this acquisition cost in half and increase conversion to 20% to get to the achieved goal. So play with it and always use it whenever you are talking about new venture startup and also things where you don't have much data, but you would like to see the logics and all they start from the end, the goal. And then work your way backward to all the driver that you will need to estimate further. Next is comparison metrics. Are the tools you can use to understand your business and compare yourself in the competition. It is also good to have a look at the comparison metrics which show you a little bit more dynamic look. And here's I will just define them, show you against which dimension you should compare yourself with the competition and what kind of metrics you can use for each and every dimension. And in our coaching program, I will show you how to use it to make specific decisions and identify room for improvement. So first, you can compare yourself in terms of size, and then obviously profitability, pace of growth, cash generation, so how good you are in converting your profit into cash, and finally, debt level. Also, how endangered by some random event or changes in trends. Now, let's look at size. You obviously can look at revenue, market share, or quantity sold. For profitability, the best way to look at are the percentage of EBIT or EBITDA. And quite often we look at the ROA, return on assets. For pace of growth, this obviously depends on the industry. But usually you look at the growth revenues or quantity sold, or in some specific cases like retail, you can look at the number of new stores open or new products. And when it comes to cash generation, you look at the cash to EBITDA ratio, or how much cash you got, or what is your new debt. So it is debt minus the cash you have got. And lastly, debt level, it is usually debt to EBITDA ratio. So these sort of things you can use to compare yourself against the competition when it comes to comparison metric, and they show you more dynamic look because they show you not only how you behave today, but how endangered you are incompatible with your competition, or where you would be in a few years, especially when we are looking at the pace of growth. So you might have a situation where your revenue are relatively the same or your market share, but the competitors have much bigger growth of revenue, which means that if you don't do anything to match them, you will be losing the battle to them, and this might actually have some impact on your profit or on your future valuation.